Welcome back to Three Men and a Mystery. I'm one of the three men, John Lorden.
And this is Mike Morford.
And I'm Gray Hughes.
Well, here we are, back with episode 5 of season 2, Silenced, the Death of Elisa Gomez. So far, we've gone into information from the first responders and police reports. Then we heard from Elisa's mother. And in the past 2 episodes, we've spent time with crime scene staging expert Dr. Laura Petler. Today, we're going back to the scene that morning and reviewing tape from 2 homicide detectives interviewing Elisa's roommate, Sharon.
Sharon's been in contact with us. However, we're having a similar situation to what Elisa's mother described. She says she's willing to help, but when we ask specific questions, so far, we haven't been getting direct responses.
We have also been hearing from many people from Elisa's life, as well as several people from Brad's past. And thank you all very much for your information and insights.
Guys, in season 1, we really had a challenge on the social front, particularly with getting people to talk. This season, we're having a way different experience. What do you guys think is going on here that's making this so different?
I don't know. You definitely hit the nail on the head. There's a lot of people reaching out to us on social media and email, and I think they care about what happened to her and they want to know the truth. And not to say that wasn't the case in season 1, but maybe there's a little bit of a different hierarchy or political system, or it's a bigger town maybe in the situation, and the people aren't as nervous about reaching out to us. And maybe that was at play a little bit in season 1.
Yeah, it seems like it's because it's so recent that social media is playing a bigger factor in this now. So it's more of a recent case with social media, and people are probably more involved. It sounds like she had a lot of good friends that were concerned, and they're reaching out to us.
That's something that's really clear. We kind of have, it almost seems like a few different camps coming towards us. We've got everyone in the Elisa was a super caring person camp. We're getting a lot of contact from people like that. And we're also getting some contact from people that are saying, Brad is very capable of doing this. So yeah, it's been a little bit of a challenge, but we thank you guys for reaching out and giving us all this additional insight. And of course, that's why we're keeping the door open. Brad, Sharon, anyone else that is looking to contribute to this conversation, we would love to have you be a part of it. We're just trying to help drive to the truth. All right, so today we're going to get into this tape. Now, we've cleaned up the audio the best that we could. However, the quality just isn't great, so please bear with us. We want you to be able to hear it for yourself, so you can come to your own thoughts and conclusions. So there's been a little bit of editing done on it, but not a whole lot. I've really tried to leave everything in there that's usable. At some times, Sharon's voice almost disappears, particularly when she gets somewhat emotional. And we've also bleeped out the names of Sharon's children. So if you hear any bleeps, that's likely what it is. At this time, at the time of the recording of this tape, Sharon is being interviewed by Sergeant Villela and Sergeant Jensen, 2 homicide detectives. This is only a few hours after the initial 911 call, so let's go ahead and start it.
Sergeant Villela, today's date is 10/11/2016. Time is 9:58 a.m. I'm at Cedar Avenue South with my partner, Sergeant Jensen. We're speaking with Cherone Vestal, is that correct? Yes, ma'am. Can you spell your first name for the record? C-H-E-R-O-N-E. C-H? Yes, ma'am. Okay. And your last name? V-E-S-T-A-L. Okay, calling your attention to what transpired today. What do you know about that? I haven't lived here very long. How long have you lived here? 2 or 3 weeks. 2 or 3 weeks. Are you friends with? I'm friends with her. I've known her. We have a lot of mutual friends that have known her directly as a, when I was in for about 5 years. Okay. So you live here with who? She owns a home. Elisa, she owns me. Elisa. And she and her husband, as of yesterday, he had been living here also. So what's his name? Brad. Okay. What's Elisa's first name? Her last name? Gomez. Gomez. G-O-M-E-Z.
How long have you been together?
Not long. I don't think they've known each other more than maybe 2 months, 3 months. 2-3 months? Yeah. And it was kind of a shock to find out that they were engaged. I didn't know she didn't see anybody. Okay. What's Brad's last name? Alexander. Okay. So you lived here 2 to 3 weeks. How long has Brad lived here? I don't know. Was he here before you got here? Okay. And what can you tell me about the relationship? I don't think he has a job other than helping her. She has a pet walking company. She does a lot of counseling, pet sitting. She's a student. She was a student at MCAD. So as long as I've been here, he's pretty much been helping her with her business, walking dogs. She's had a really big project to expose, so he's been doing a lot of that. And anything else about the relationship that's unique? It's very temperamental. What do you mean by that? I think he has a drinking problem. She said to me, or she had said to me, that he drinks too much. But I think she also drank a lot. They would argue a lot. I never actually saw them argue. They live in the basement, and I live upstairs. But I would see her the next day, and she would look really hurt. Like there's no reason, like, no, he's never been physical with her, never once. I asked her the very first time if they had argued, and she said no, he would never do that. The last, I want to say, like 3 or 4 days, I was very supportive, I think, for her. I don't know if she had another person to discuss any of this with, but she was texting me 20 to 30 times a day about their relationship and how much pain she was in. Or why was she in pain about the relationship? Because he would drink and be really unkind. And did you witness that as well? No. I just
And when you say unkind, you're talking
her feelings would hurt, yeah.
It's not physical.
No. I was adamant the very first time she told me that they had an argument. She said, I'm just so hurt. And I said, he didn't put his hand on you. And she said, no, nothing like that. But they had broken up like 3 times since I've been here. I believe it was Friday when he had left. Last Friday, this past Friday, he had gone somewhere. I think after she left, I go to bed usually around 10:30. I have a 2 and a 3-year-old daughter who live upstairs with me. Are they here now? No. Okay. No. Yesterday I found out that my dad died. So, I started about 7 o'clock drinking wine. I don't drink. I used to drink a lot. I don't drink much anymore. I had a last drink yesterday. Okay.
So what, last Friday?
Last Friday, he was upset about something. We were both outside smoking a cigarette. And he said that she was getting ready for a party and he didn't want to go. I don't know, I went to bed. And the next morning, I guess he had left. She was very upset. She wanted me to go get him. She was worried about him. She felt like he was with someone that was not good for him. She didn't feel like he was safe wherever it was that he was with.
Did he come home?
No.
When did he come home?
I think she went and got him Sunday morning.
Sunday morning?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there more to that story, though?
I mean, not really. I think it's really just nothing to speak of.
Well, a lot to unpack just in that first 5 minutes. It sounds like this is a pretty tumultuous relationship right from the start. And keep in mind, it's kind of interesting that we only have Cherone being in this environment for a few weeks, and she's already picking up on quite a lot of the dynamic that's going on between Brad and Elisa. It seems like alcohol might be fueling some of what's going on. And through conversations with the family, I have heard that as a theme come up, but in those conversations, it's mostly that Elisa was not happy with how much Brad was drinking, and that, when he would hang out with certain people, he would really seem to amp it up. But I'm almost wondering if there's more at play here. It's just kind of interesting that you hear him about kind of disappearing, for a weekend like that. What do you guys think?
Well, it's the thing that stuck out to me was that she said that Elisa had texted her several times a day talking about how much pain she was in. And I think without knowing what was in those texts and seeing everything there, it's hard to say, come to a conclusion one way or another. But, that could support the fact that maybe she was depressed, and to what extent, that's something we'd have to try and explore more.
Yeah. The part that I was looking at was that they broke up 3 times in that short amount of time. That just seems like really volatile. And Sharon mentioned that Brad drank a lot, but it sounds like Elisa drank a lot too, based on what Sharon said. But the problem with Sharon is we're never really quite sure of what she's saying is the reality of the situation.
Why would you feel that?
Well, as we'll hear later on, she makes statements to some people in one way and then completely changes it at another time.
Yeah, and Judy kind of pointed towards that also in the interview we did with her. Yeah, that it seems like different stories can come out. We do know that, Elisa had a blood alcohol content of, I think it was 0.113, if I remember correctly. Certainly intoxicated at the time, but, not the craziest one that I've heard, certainly. And we know it was her wedding day. We do know they went out to celebrate. They went to a bar in particular. So are people going to be drunk that night? Yeah, I think we can assume they are. All right, well, let's get back to the interview with Sharon and hear why Elisa was particularly spooked leading right up to her wedding to Brad.
She's 46 years old. She's a very, very kind woman. He's 30. He's young. I just saw a lot of...
So they both drank a lot. Did they do any drugs?
No. I mean, I think she smoked pot from time to time, but no, not that.
Was it both were heavy drinkers, would you say?
I don't want to say she's a heavy drinker, but when she was upset with him, she would tend to drink more because she was upset. There was, like a week ago, I was asleep. It was like 2:30 in the morning, and she came up the stairs and woke me and my girls up asking for my phone. And I was like, okay. She had lost her phone, her car, her purse, her keys. And come to find out the next morning, she had left it parked on a corner with the keys in the ignition.
Okay, and what happened last night? You mentioned that they got married yesterday. Is that true? Were they excited about that?
Yeah, it was very strange because I was getting my daughter ready to go to school, and she said, I'm freaking out. And she had this picture of a man she drew 2 years ago that she dreamt of, and it looked exactly like Brad. I was like, oh my goodness. She said, it's fake. I said, yeah, it's pretty weird.
Pretty weird might actually be a bit of an understatement. Elisa posted about this picture as well. From October 10th, one day before her wedding, this is what she wrote. Freaking out. Prepare for goosebumps. I cleaned out an old bag of mine this morning that I haven't used in a few years and shocked the heck out of myself. 2 years ago, when my son graduated boot camp, my mom and I went to San Antonio for the graduation. I had this super intense dream of being chased by a man, and I wasn't sure in the dream if I should run from him or go with him. I wasn't afraid. It was just really intense. So much so that I drew a picture of the man on our pass to get into the graduation. I found that pass and picture this morning and almost peed myself. This was 2 years ago, long before I met Brad or knew what he even looked like. I still have goosebumps. OMG. And she posted a picture of the drawing. And for our YouTube viewers, here it is next to a shot of Brad. So we're all looking at the picture ourselves right now. What do you guys think, Gray?
Well, I think it's amazing how there are so many similar features in the sketch. The nose is pinched in. Looks like the bushy eyebrows, the beard, the hairline looks similar. The jaw shape is a little different. It's not as sharp. It's more squared on Brad.
Morph?
Yeah, you can't say it's a side-by-side drawing, I don't think, where he sat there and posed for it, but you can certainly see the similarities and some of the things that jump out. As Gray just mentioned, there's just some certain structures in the features of the face that sort of are reminiscent, and you could see that if somebody drew that in an artistic way, that it would definitely resemble him. So it's pretty weird.
I'd go as far as saying even if this was like an attempt at a composite, but like by an eyewitness or something, it's pretty uncanny. The location and placement of the eyes, the eyebrows, I have to agree with you, Gray. The nose really, really strikes me because there seems to be a lot of detail that matches up. And the shape of his mouth, actually, with this particular photo of his mugshot, is a striking similarity.
The lips, to me, I noticed that as well.
Yeah, it's weird. It looks like she spent extra time on the nose, too, in the drawing.
It does. Yeah, it really does. Now, I'm sure you guys know when I started doing Brain Scratch, I was really looking into a lot of fringe topics and stuff like that. And I kind of moved away from it because the supernatural stuff just never panned out. It always came to someone's personal story or personal account, and you could really never prove it beyond that. This is probably an example of one of the strangest paranormal type things that I've looked into where I'm just boggled. Like, I can't make sense out of this. She literally drew a picture that looks a whole lot like this guy. And in the context of what's going on in their relationship, it really blows my mind.
Just looking at it again, it even has the little sort of the soul patch location of the goatee there. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now, the post isn't accessible on her Facebook anymore. So once again, we have to keep in mind the family gave me a printout of it, but they also had something else with that printout. And that is apparently Brad actually replied to that post, and he replied to it one day after Elisa died. At 11:42 a.m. on October 12th, he replied, "More like look out." What do you guys think of that?
I don't know what to make of that. That's pretty weird thing to say, and I can't really. Is he saying like look out or like a lookout? I don't know what he meant by that, but that's definitely a strange thing to reply with.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind her story is I don't know if I should run or if I should go with him.
Yeah.
And this is a day after she's died.
And I think that says something too, because I don't know about anybody else, but I don't think I'd be playing around on Facebook the day after my new wife just died. I think I'd be taking some time off of social media. So that's pretty weird that he took the time to go on there and reply with a bizarre statement like that.
So that's on the photo, I mean, of the sketch that she did, right?
Yep, that whole story in the sketch. That's the reply to it.
Wow. So that means more like look out, like look out for me. Yeah, that's kind of
where I would take it, but yeah.
What other meaning? What other positive meaning could you get from it?
I don't think you could take a positive meaning out of it. I think it's just a matter of, is he being insensitive, or is it even more of a statement? I think that's the two ends of the spectrum we're looking at for me personally. If
he would have replied to it a day earlier, or obviously before this happened to her, he could have, played it off as, hey, look out, I'm a dangerous guy. Yeah, that kind of thing. But to post it after she's already dead, it's just a very strange thing to post, and it just doesn't make much sense.
When was the post put on Facebook?
It was literally the day before. Yeah, so it's sent on October 10th. That's the same day they get married. And then over the course of the 10th to the 11th, sometime in that night is when the big fight happens. And then the next morning, the morning of the 11th, is when 911 is called. So this is the day after that.
Wow.
At 11:42. I believe this is actually the same day that her bank account gets emptied. But we'll get into more details about that in a future episode. So anything else that you guys noticed in that last clip that you wanted to comment on, Gray?
Yeah, I mean, here's an example of where Sharon again is wishy-washy. She said that Elisa drank all the time. Basically, that's how she referred to it. She said she drank a lot. And it turns out that in the next audio that we listened to, she says that she drank a lot, but only when she was arguing with Brad. So that's a lot different than just thinking of somebody drinking all the time. They're just drinking like they're an alcoholic. But in reality, you then clarify and say that she drank only when she fought with Brad or was upset with him.
Morph?
Yeah, the part where the argument or disagreement, whatever they're having, spills outside, it seems like it's more than just a minor thing that you argue for a couple minutes about and then it's over and you move on. It seems like they went outside and it continued. So whatever they were arguing about, it might be pertinent to really know what that is.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see what additional detail we get about the outside argument from Cherone. But I also wanted to touch on something else. The story she mentions that Elisa left the car parked on the corner with the keys in the ignition. Elisa's mother's pretty adamant that that wasn't Elisa that left the car there, that it would have been Brad that actually left the car there. But I don't know. I just wanted to point that out as a possible discrepancy. Cherone seems to be pretty certain that it was actually Elisa that had done that, but according to info from the family, we're hearing it might not have been.
Do we know why they have that opinion or
I don't, unfortunately. And it's tough because, I don't have the two pieces to really kind of bump up against each other to figure out, this would be great if we could get Judy and Cherone and just have a big round table about all these issues and go through them piece by piece and try to drill in like that. Unfortunately, very easy to talk to Judy and not so easy to get a hold of Cherone at this point. We're going to continue now with what happened after Brad and Elisa returned from the courthouse where they got married. And please keep in mind, Cherone says she doesn't normally drink, but her father passed away that day.
So by the time they got back here, I had been drinking and they seemed really, really happy. We went to the theater end. I think they had one or two glasses of wine. I don't know how much they drank. I think they were drinking champagne. Something occurred that I don't know what happened, but she seemed upset. What time was it about? I want to say like 11. I really don't know, but that's my guess. 11 p.m. Mm-hmm. Okay, she got upset? Yeah. And left? We all left together. We all came back here. We were in the kitchen. Still drinking. She's in the kitchen on the counter, and him and I were smoking on the back here. I don't even really understand why she was upset, but she was very upset. I remember going upstairs to making sure my girls were still sleeping. I came back down. They had gone outside. I guess they were fighting. I didn't really know what was going on, but he, at some point, I'm sorry, like I said, I had a lot to drink yesterday, but at some point, him and I were sitting in here talking. I was talking about my dad. I didn't know where she was. I was just when she had gone to bed. Okay. I didn't think anything of it. So after they were outside arguing, it came in. What time was that at? I have no idea. Okay. So then you two, Brad and you were sitting here in the living room. We were talking about my dad and about, I think he was trying to feel bad about their argument, and I don't know, I became pretty self-consumed at that point because, looking at pictures of my dad on the phone, I was drunk, went upstairs, lay down with my babies. I had to get up and get my 3-year-old ready for school. her aunt and I had already planned on her coming to pick her up to drive her so that I wouldn't have to get her leave, but, take her on the bus.
Now, it's interesting to me because it seems like there should be a lot of detail here that I don't understand why is missing. Gray, I know you in particular looked a lot at the Cedar Inn footage. I've looked at it as well. We know they're there for over an hour. We know that, first of all, they don't quite leave together. I can see why she says that, but Elisa really leaves first on her own, and you can tell that she's upset when she leaves in the footage. But the other thing that really bothers me is in the footage, we see that they're all together at a table pretty much the whole time. So how does she not know what this fight is about? I don't comprehend.
Well, it's funny because that's exactly the note that I just wrote down. I said, why wouldn't she know why she was upset when she was sitting right there at the bar? So the thing is she knows what the fight was about because Elisa walks away, goes to the end of the bar, does something, maybe pays or whatever, and then leaves. And you can see she sort of storms off. And then Brad and Sharon come out a little bit later, and they're just kind of walking together. So they know why she was upset. At least why she left the bar upset. There's no doubt in my mind that Sharon knows the answer to that question.
Well, and also keep in mind, this is a conflict that starts at some point, I guess we could estimate around midnight. They still hang out when they get back to the house. We hear Sharon talking about that. They're sitting in the kitchen and they're smoking out on the stoop and all this. So she's around them for a prolonged period of time while this argument must still be continuing, because we know at 2:30 in the morning, they're outside and the fence is getting broken and the neighbors are calling the police. How does she not know what this argument is the only thing I can think of is if she's so traumatized by what has happened with the death of her father that she's in some state of shock and she's just really not acknowledging or participating in what's going on around her. But man, that's a big period of time to be stuck in that type of mode and just not absorbing anything. What do you think, Mark?
Just to play devil's advocate, I think it's likely that she would know something or have some kind of inkling about what the argument was about. But I think maybe all of us have been out with other people that are sort of bickering, and you could tell there's tension, but you don't know exactly what it is. Maybe a couple has a bit of an argument, but they're out and they don't want to make a scene, so they're angry with each other, but they're not really. So just to look at it from that side of the coin. But even then, you can sometimes pick up on little details and little things, little statements that are being said and have some kind of inkling. But and the important picture is we have to remember this is their wedding night. Why are they arguing and kicking down fences at 2:30 in the morning? So this is just very troubling for whatever this fight is about, whatever the reason this is all going on. It's happening on their wedding night, and it's just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense that would happen.
Well, I could play devil's advocate to your devil's advocate and say that when they were at the bar, it was just the three of them. There wasn't some other people to be foiling the conversation off with, or, maybe there was somebody off camera that we didn't see, but they would just all have been sitting there together communicating. And it seems very likely that she would know why there was a fight. And then, yes, then it continues on at home, and you'd think for sure she'd know now because there's yelling and fences being kicked down and apparently phones being tossed.
We've also got another interesting aspect here where she says that she thinks Elisa goes down to bed, but then she essentially continues talking to Brad, and she's telling the investigators, she says that Brad feels bad about their argument. So you're having a conversation with this guy after Elisa has left, and you still don't know what the argument is, but part of the conversation you're having is about him feeling bad about the argument. You guys see how this is just not, I don't get it.
It doesn't add up.
And then we've got, kind of a black hole in terms of Elisa and Brad go outside fighting, and then all of a sudden, it's almost like she doesn't want to go into the details. All of a sudden she jumps to, later she's talking to Brad. I don't know. I don't know why we're not getting these details fleshed out. It seems to me like something's being protected, but that's just my opinion at this point.
Next, we'll find out how Sharon learns Elisa is dead right after this short break.
A lot of us struggle with finding happiness dealing with tough life issues, and so much more. But you don't have to struggle alone, and you don't even have to leave your home to get the help you need, thanks to BetterHelp Online Counseling.
BetterHelp is available on desktop or mobile for both Android or iOS. You can speak to a counselor via text, chat, phone, or video.
Find secure, convenient, professional help that's affordable with BetterHelp.
BetterHelp isn't a crisis line, but you can find licensed professional counselors that you can speak to from the comfort of your own home.
3 Men and a Mystery listeners get 10% off your first month with discount code 3MEN. So why not get started today? Go to betterhelp.com/3men. Financial aid is available to those who qualify. Simply fill out a questionnaire to help them assess your needs and get matched with a counselor you'll love. That's betterhelp.com/3men. Find help to break through those personal obstacles with BetterHelp. Listen up, everyone. America's #1 meal kit, HelloFresh, is now as low as $5.66 a serving. HelloFresh makes cooking at home fun, easy, and affordable, and 3 Men listeners can save even more. Go to HelloFresh.com/3Men10 and use code 3Men10 during HelloFresh's New Year's sale for 10 free meals, including free shipping. HelloFresh was kind enough to send us all samples. We've all gotten to try it and do our own recipes. Morph, what do you think of HelloFresh?
I thought it was great. My wife and I got to spend more time with the kids instead of grocery shopping and meal planning. And I tried the cheddar chicken fajitas, and they were excellent.
What was amazing for me is that they provided these 6 easy steps to follow on these cards and a picture of what the food should look like at the end. So I made the meals on my own, and they tasted absolutely incredible. Something that you could buy at a restaurant.
You can also tell them how many meals you want per week, how many people you're feeding with those meals. It is really customizable. They pushed me outside of my comfort zone. I made a risotto, and I'm totally impressed by that. HelloFresh's pre-portioned ingredients means there's less prep for you and less food waste. Plus, HelloFresh has more 5-star recipes than any other meal kit, so you know you're going to get something delicious. Go to HelloFresh.com/3Men10 and use code 3Men10 during HelloFresh's New Year's sale for 10 free meals, including free shipping. Best value, delicious choice. HelloFresh. Welcome back, and please keep in mind that our sponsors are helping us raise funds that will go towards investigating this case further and honoring the life of Elisa Gomez. So please show them the same support they're showing us. Now we're going to continue with Sharon's interview and find out how she learned Elisa's life was over. Please keep in mind, at this time, Sharon's aunt is coming over, so we're going to pick it up from there.
She came to pick her up, I want to say 10:30 this morning.
So 7:50 in the morning?
Yep.
Okay.
She'd be at school by 8, and I want to say it wasn't much longer than 15, 20 minutes at most. That he came and started knocking on the door and said, "Cherone, I need you to come downstairs, just you."
Okay. And that was about maybe 8:15 then?
Right.
So he's knocking on the door. So when you were getting back off to school, where was he? So
He was sleeping on the couch because before she had gone to school, I brought both of my babies down to go to the bathroom. We went back upstairs, get dressed,
and who was in the living room?
He was sleeping on the couch.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. When I opened the door, I looked at him, and he looked crazy, completely crazy. Like I had just seen.
What did he tell you?
He didn't know anything.
He just said, "Come with me." So you went downstairs. And what did you see?
Elisa came from I don't know what you call it. A scarf.
Is that her scarf or your scarf or?
No, it's not mine. Okay. That's hanging downstairs.
Okay. So she's up there hanging.
Her bathroom was right there. I went in the bathroom and I just started opening drawers. I couldn't find anything. I found this toenail clipper and I started clipping the back of it, screaming at her.
So you used a toenail clipper to cut her down?
I've been yelling at her. Yep. Yeah.
What's she had to tie around?
I don't know, sir. I mean, I think at one point I had to clip some of her. I don't know. It wasn't, I don't know. I didn't even look at the front of her. Honestly, I just literally started snipping the back of it. I didn't know how long she'd been that way. I didn't know. Look at her face and her tongue was hanging out of the mouth.
So a big part of the mystery for me is really trying to figure out the position, what's going on with the position. That's why we spoke to Dr. Laura Petler so much about the lividity and trying to understand how the body was positioned. A couple of key comments here. Sergeant Villela actually says, she redescribes back to Cherone what she's saying and says that Elisa is up there hanging. And Cherone doesn't seem to correct her. So I keep coming back to this question of, is Elisa really truly fully suspended in that kind of low area? Because we know that the beam probably isn't more than 6 feet high there. Or did she do this on her knees or something else like that? We're hearing this description of up there hanging. And then we also get Sergeant Jensen asking how'd she end up turned around? And then Cherone replying that she never looked at the front of her. I just, if you see someone hanging, aren't you going to check on them? My first thing I would think for myself would be to check on them to try to do some type of life-saving effort. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, what do you think? Maybe turning around means not actually flipping over onto the back, but rotate it around on the stomach in the wrong direction. Is that a possibility?
It could be. It never even occurred to me that, it looks pretty simple from the photos. It looks like we're supposed to assume she was in a hanging position and that the toenail clippers were used and she dropped straight down from there. But
the reason I say that is because when you look at I think when you see law enforcement come in there, isn't she face down? Yeah. So that's the direction you would think she would be. So why do they think she was turned over? Was it the lividity question?
I don't know. Or
it could be rotated around on her stomach, the wrong direction.
Yeah. And then of course we have the whole question about how exactly did the toenail clipper help get her down? The scarf is completely intact. So how did that work? How do you undo a knot with a toenail clipper?
Yeah, I once in a while I'll use a toenail clipper to cut string or twine or something like that.
Yeah.
But a thick material strong enough to hold somebody up. I wonder how hard and how long that would take to cut them down with that. It seems like it'd be just as easy to run up and grab a knife and just slice it down. So that's just odd to use that. And I wonder too if again this is a traumatic situation for anybody to find somebody like that. And I don't know what goes through somebody's head. I've never found anybody like that, but. Is it a blur? Do they even remember all the details?
That's a good point.
This is after a night of drinking too, so I don't know if somebody that's maybe hungover is the best witness going through something like this. But there's definitely some troubling aspects to the whole situation.
Yeah, sometimes people do weird things. Just to throw this out there, we had a fire in my house one time, and my brother ran up and started spitting on it as if that was actually going to stop the fire. Okay. But it's like, that's the first thing he thought of. Right. So maybe, in Cherone's defensiveness, she saw some nail clippers. Oh, these things cut things. And then she went over. But yeah, how long would that take to actually free that?
I keep trying to look at it from like an intent perspective. And what is your intent in cutting her down if you haven't even looked at the front of her to see if she's possibly still alive? Like, why are you making that decision?
I almost want to try an experiment of taking a scarf and just sitting there clipping it with clippers, seeing how long it would take to cut through the entire thing.
I assume you could, but we know the scarf's not cut. We know that it's all in one piece. It has fringes on the ends that you can see on both ends. So she didn't successfully cut the scarf. Maybe I'm trying to think if she used the file portion of the clippers to help push the knot through in some way or something like that. I don't know.
How does she ultimately come down if she didn't cut all the way through the clippers? How does she wind up down on the ground after being elevated?
The knot has to have been undone. It's
Somehow or another, the knot was undone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it possible she clipped Elisa's hair with the... Because you know how her hair was tied around it. Maybe that was kind of eventually holding her up. I don't know. Yeah,
Maybe.
it's so confusing because you can tell that it went around her neck, the actual, or we assume
Right.
that the scarf went around her neck.
I wouldn't describe it as I used the clippers on the scarf if I had actually used them to cut Elisa's hair. I think I would make that distinction, but
Yeah, she said pretty specifically on the scarf.
yeah. Cherone also shared with them a story about the weekend before that may show us that suicide wasn't completely out of Elisa's mindset.
Has she ever tried this in the past?
No, but on Saturday she wanted to stage some kind of dramatic display of like suicidal tendency to him that, you know, what would he do if he were to find me like this? It was really weird. It seemed really manipulative. I was really uncomfortable with the whole thing. She wanted me to go pick him up Saturday and Brooklyn Park where he was with this guy that she didn't feel comfortable with him being with. I had my 14-year-old here who had homecoming that night, and all I wanted to do was get her ready. You know, I had my 2- and 3-year-old daughter here. I don't know, it just became really obsessive.
Well, what did she say? How was she going to stage that?
I don't know if she actually wrote a fake suicide note or if she told him that she had wrote. I'm unclear on that part. What I do know is that she wanted me to bring him back here, have him come downstairs and find her in her room, not actually, not that she'd actually done anything, but what would you do if I actually had?
Okay, and did she say how she would do that?
Pills.
Okay. Nothing about ever hanging herself.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Did you hear any commotion or anything like that going downstairs? Do you think Brad would have done that to her?
No. Oh my God, no.
No.
And I know he's scared to death right now, but you guys think that he is. And I don't know him from anything but being with her, but he's never touched her, he's never put a hand on her. He's hurt her feelings quite a bit. But I really don't think he would ever.
How about you? Would you do anything like that?
To her?
Yeah.
No. I thought about doing it myself, I'm not gonna lie. But that sure as hell scared the hell out of me, and I'm really, really freaked out. And are we almost done, actually?
Yeah. So when he was outside with her arguing and came back and laid down, you don't know where she went in the house?
I just assumed she went down in her room.
Down in the room?
Yeah.
Do you remember what time that was?
Right. Probably, I don't know, like 12:30. I don't know. Apparently they heard him arguing, so they would probably know better.
The neighbors?
Yeah, I had a lot to drink.
Let me ask you another question.
Yes, sir.
How long did you and him sit and talk?
A while.
Did you say a while? How long?
A couple hours maybe.
Okay. And during that period of time, she was not around.
No.
When you went upstairs, was he still here? Or where was he at?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, when I brought my 2 little girls to go to the bathroom at like 7, he was sleeping on the couch. I don't know what happened when I was upstairs, but I have to be completely honest with you. I stake my life on the fact that he would never in a million years hurt her. Ever.
That seemed like a very strong statement. She would stake her life on the fact that he would never, ever, ever in a million years hurt her, ever.
This is the guy that she knows so well after 3 weeks.
I don't get it. I don't get how you would be so certain about that. So a lot to unpack in this section. Let's start with the suicide attempt. I've actually seen some social media, or not social, some text messages between Alisa and Brad that I think relates to the instance that Sharon is talking about. And it did seem like Elisa was kind of threatening that she was going to take, I believe it was a bottle of Advil, if I remember correctly. So let's make a little clarification about faking a suicide by pills. She was talking about taking a bottle of Advil, which I actually looked into, and probably wouldn't even kill you first off, right off the bat. But the context of the conversation does seem like, I mean, she's kind of begging Brad in this chain to please come home. And he essentially isn't.
When she refers to the Saturday, which Saturday, what date are they talking about? Like a week prior?
I believe that's back to that same instance when Brad is out somewhere else and won't come back, which very likely could be with her vehicle, by the way. He didn't have any vehicle of his own. So,
but if this is true, if this is an actual, and it sounds like it was there's a text exchange, a chain of text messaging, then it does open the door for the possibility that she was trying to dramatically stage a suicide attempt by, hanging herself, hoping, not realizing that she would actually pass out and then she died, thinking that Brad would be the knight in shining armor and profess his love, that, oh my God, and it would change him. I mean, that does open that possibility.
Right. That maybe she did it with the intent of, oh, he's coming downstairs to go to bed because I just came down here and he's going to find me, with this scarf and rescue me.
Exactly.
It's an interesting thought. And obviously we can't take anything off the table at this point. Yeah. Other problems I'm having with this clip, no commotion downstairs. We have the fence being kicked out and broken. We have a light being broken. We know that there's a ruckus that's going on, that neighbors 2 doors down are calling the police, but she's not witnessing or hearing anything from that. I'm kind of surprised by that as well.
Especially if you've got young kids there, you're trying to get to be able to sleep. You figure, hey, what's this noise? I don't want my kid waking up. I want them to sleep. So,
yeah. Now, to her point, she keeps referring back to the fact that she's been drinking a lot, and some of us certainly sleep a bit heavier when we have been. But
she also seems to be really hedging with them her recollection because, I was drinking, and she tries to get out of the interview. I mean, wouldn't you really want to just get out the story and help law enforcement figure this out?
Yeah. Well, she does have a little bit of a past with law enforcement, so maybe she's not super comfortable with them. As a matter of fact, on the artwork for today's episode, there is a little picture that's actually a mugshot of her, and I didn't do that to try to be nasty or anything. It's just there's only certain public photos that I can use, and there's not a whole lot of other photos I could find of her. So she does have a little bit of a history, so maybe she's not the most comfortable around police, and I can certainly understand that.
I was wondering if I could circle back just for a minute.
Yeah.
The portion where you were just mentioning that Elisa texted Brad about maybe taking pills. Well, that gives Brad the idea too in his mind. You see, now he's aware of that situation. So then I'm just saying that could potentially become the story after the fact.
Yeah, I also got a little twinge of the Elisa Turney case when I heard her mention that maybe Elisa had written a suicide note. And I was just wondering, oh, wow, I wonder if they were planning on using that and something happened to it and they decided not to. I mean, if we are thinking about a situation where, someone is staging this. But as far as I know, no suicide note is part of this case at all. As Gray mentioned earlier, we've been in touch with many people on this case, and a few in particular have been very direct that they have been physically attacked by Brad. We've also seen criminal charges and a jail sentence specifically related to physical violence towards women, and very specifically related to him choking a woman. Why would Cherone stake her life on the fact that that this guy's innocent, even though she only knew this guy for a few weeks? Do you guys think there's a possibility she's covering for him for some reason? What would motivate that?
To protect herself or protect some kind of interest that she has. She doesn't want something being found out or something being revealed. I couldn't see anything other reason to try and help somebody cover up something like this, and unless there's something at stake, not just doing it for, hey, I feel sorry for the guy, I'm going to cover for him.
Right. And it might not be something as extreme as, of course, I know a lot of people are sitting out there probably thinking, oh my God, they were sleeping together, or they had some type of relationship on the side or something like that. It might not even be that far, right? It might be there was something they were doing that isn't necessarily legal, and they're worried about that coming out, or something along those lines. I just keep thinking back to our interview with Dr. Petler when she stated that murder is conflict resolution for the murderer. So if this is indeed a staged scene, what was the problem that was being fixed with this? Of course, if you speak to Elisa's family, they're very clear about the fact that they think that Brad could have been doing this because he wanted her car, he wanted her money, he wanted all her possessions, and that was that.
I think it did come across that she was trying to protect Brad with those statements. She was way too adamant about it, as if she'd known him for years. Oh my God, Brad would never do this kind of thing. And it just came across as if she was really protecting him. The reason for that, we don't know at this time.
It might be the most, her strongest point in this whole interview. I mean, that's really the one that she gets up on the hill and really calls out very, very strongly. And this is a woman that I understand she's dealing with her father dying. Now her roommate, friend of 5 years, is dying. She has a lot to be upset about and a lot to be moved by. But getting on that point about Brad being innocent, wow, that's the strongest.
Yeah.
Never, ever, 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 ever. I don't know how many times she said ever, but you can't get any more adamant about that. And I don't know how you get that adamant about somebody you don't know that well.
In this next clip, there's mention of a person named Cindy. She's the aunt. And honestly, I'm not certain if it's Sharon's sister and the kid's aunt or if it's Sharon's aunt, but she's the aunt that's coming to pick up Sharon's children.
But it was a couple hours that you guys had talked. And that was the last you saw it.
I don't.
Until morning.
Yeah. I don't even know why I don't even know why they were arguing.
Did you hear any more arguing when she went to bed?
No. I'm just finding out my dad died, so it's just like this. It's too much. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And she's a really good lady. She was a really good lady. Yeah. And she's got kids.
Do they live here?
No.
How old are your kids?
Jade, I believe, is 26. Jesse is in the service. I'm not sure where he's stationed right now. And like I said to him, I don't know what the protocol is, but I've never met her mother. I met her son a long time ago. Obviously, I'm not going to be the person making phone calls, but
Do you have phone numbers for him at all?
No,
I
I don't, but I'm sure on Facebook you can contact them very easily.
Same last name, sir?
I don't know that. She has,
What's her Facebook?
Elisa and Gomez.
Would you be willing to provide a DNA bucket swab? Because it's kind of rules out stuff, okay? All right, let me get that ready. So it was after what Cindy left that you cut her down then? Or got her down? Right.
I called you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember.
And she's the one that picked up and then came back and got.
Yeah.
Yes? But you know what? And I'm sure he did. But we just have to do this. Complete it. Do a thorough investigation. Rule anything out.
So there was a bit of a little bit of a dramatic shift that I noticed. I actually cut out some audio there because there was nothing going on except for the dogs barking. And I believe it was them doing the process of getting the swab and taking her DNA. But it did seem like there was a little bit of an emotional change that happened in her after that, where she things got a little low. And once again, it might be related to, her previous experience with law enforcement and just getting worried that, there might be some aspect of her getting in trouble or something along those lines. Not necessarily saying she's guilty, just saying that she's probably not really comfortable in that situation. So of course here we hear that Sharon never met Judy, and she again mentions the fact that her dad is dying. You know, something that really struck me is the investigators seemed to be going down a good road there, and they kind of stopped. And that was trying to put the timeline together of what happened with picking up the kids that morning, because that could also maybe try to help us understand the intent. From what I understand, the aunt came to take the first of the two kids to school. I don't think the second kid was supposed to go anywhere. That's why the aunt didn't take them. Once Sharon figured out, oh my God, Elisa is dead, then she calls the aunt to come and get that second child. Now, I have heard an additional tape, and I don't know if we're going to be able to release this one on the show, but investigators did call the aunt and talk to her about that, and they were trying to drill in on, when you went there the second time, were police there? And she's pretty clear that they weren't. So if we start putting this together in terms of a timeline, we've got Sharon finding out something's wrong with Elisa, calling her aunt to come pick up the other kid, but I don't know where the 911 call falls in that. There might be a bit of time passing here that's a little bit tougher to understand. Certainly, I don't think this was a life-saving effort when it was called in to 911. It seems like she found out Elisa had died. Then she called her aunt. Her aunt comes over to get the kids. The cops still aren't there. Now, she might have called them at that time, but the cops haven't actually showed up yet. Though from their reports, I can see they responded in about 5 minutes. And even Sharon says, I think that they showed up between 5 and 10 minutes. It's interesting to me that the investigators are starting to really go down that road, but then they just kind of completely back off of it.
I wish they had spent more time too, just talking to her. They mentioned cutting her down with the clippers, but if they'd spent more time on that aspect, the whole, the scene, what was she doing? Like really try to get her to remember every single detail. Because I think that it seems like they just kind of let her off the hook. Oh yeah, with clippers. Okay, great.
Yeah. And why is she facing the other way? You know, obviously that caught his attention that he asked that question. So why not follow up on that and try and dig a little bit more there?
Yeah, these are homicide investigators that are doing a death investigation, and you can't rewind time. There's no other way to get back to see those details. You need to get those details from the person that did the messing. And here you are sitting with her, and those details just are not coming.
And Brad was down there first and saw her, right?
Right.
He claims.
Yeah.
And so he runs up, and so who knows what Brad was doing down there?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has a clue. He just runs up. Oh, you got to run down. I mean, why wouldn't, this is his wife. He's not going to be the one that lifts her up, tries to, you know.
Well, and let's put together the other part of the timeline as well. We know when they get back, we know that they have their fight. That happens at about 2:30. But Sharon talks to him after that for a couple hours. So what time is she going to bed? 5? And then, 2.5, 3 hours later, he's knocking on the door.
And I don't think we could say this enough, but I have to say it again. I've already said it a couple times. This is their wedding night. Why are they not sleeping together? It doesn't make sense. Also,
Brad doesn't have a job. Why is he getting up at 7:30 or 8?
Yeah, I think anybody that is a partier or a drinker, if they don't have to get up to do something specific at an early time, they're not getting up. If you don't have kids waking up at the crack of dawn, screaming, I've got young kids. And sure enough, like as soon as it's light out, they're calling me. So I'm not sleeping in. He has none of that to keep him from sleeping in. So
You've been up until 5 o'clock in the morning. Any way they cut it with her information, we're looking at least 4:30. And you're up all of a sudden at 7:30. I don't know. I mean, maybe there's dogs there. Maybe there's some process with the dogs that is normal for the morning. I don't know.
Yeah, but you might want to get up early if you need to send somebody down to contaminate the crime scene.
Maybe.
Because if you look at it, he has to make sure somebody else is down there doing things if he is involved with taking her life.
The police would say, who touched it? He could say, not me, she did. I don't know anything about it. I just found her and said something, and she went to work on getting her down and then wash his hands of it.
Yeah.
Not to say that's what happened, but it's just weird.
So that interview concluded, but then Sergeant Villela actually kicked the recorder on again. She asked Cherone about a male friend that was also at the home that night. Cherone says that he arrived after they got back from the Cedar Inn and was there to comfort her for her father's passing. Villela asks if he witnessed any of the fighting, and she says no, which once again kind of blows my mind because we know they're having a screaming, breaking things match out in the front yard at 2:30. So this friend is someone else that was at the home that night. I don't know if he's ever been interviewed by police or not. On top of that, I've heard there's another friend that was there that night. Once we get to Brad's tape, we're going to hear that he actually talks about the fact that Elisa was mad about certain people he was hanging out with. So there is at least 2 other men that are there that night that really haven't been brought up. Actually, both of Cherone's interview doesn't talk about this second guy at all. Cherone's second interview only talks about the first guy, and Cherone's first interview doesn't talk about either of them. So pretty interesting. I have to put it to you guys. Was Cherone just out of it due to losing her father, or do you think that something else is going on here?
I don't know what to think. This is a very bizarre situation all the way around. On one hand, you could say she was out drinking, she might be hungover, she's just lost her father, she's just found her friend hanging, and it's just an explosion of stuff that just, it just blows her mind, sort of. So that's one way of looking at it. But then there's, from the other side, it seems like there's some things that she should be clear on that she's not. So I don't know what to think.
Yeah, I actually think, it seems like she's overboard in trying to make Brad look like a good person when all the evidence that we've seen and discussed doesn't make him sound like that whatsoever. And I understand it does, when you lose a family member, you can go into a shell and sort of like a dream state, everything you're doing. But when you see her after she leaves the bar, she's out there talking to those people standing there. She looks pretty casual to me.
Right.
I don't know if that's because she was drinking, but I think they go back to the house and there's no way she doesn't know why they were arguing. And there's no way that she didn't hear the argument and know what was going on. It was probably really loud, fences being kicked in. We've talked about a million times. I feel like she's using her father's death to explain her memory lapse.
And I think that brings us back to the whole the police not following up or pressing hard enough, because maybe they could have pressed harder about the argument. Like, hey, you were with them at this bar talking, sitting at the same table as they're arguing, and you're telling me that you don't remember or know a single thing they were talking about. I think they could have pressed her a little bit more there and maybe revealed some more stuff.
And also hearing of the type of fighting that Elisa and Brad would do, to hear a detail like there was this other person there, but yeah, they probably didn't hear any of the fight. Really? Because that's not what you've been telling us for the past half hour and the rest of this interview. I mean, these are explosive, loud, arguing people. Yeah. And then, of course, we go from the point we were talking about where, think back on this tape that you've listened to, guys. The strongest point that she makes is there's no way that he could have done this. Morph, you want to share some information with us?
Yeah, just to add another twist to this, Cherone would apparently make a post on social media that tells a very different story. The family has provided us with a printout of the post, as the original has been removed, but it states that it's a post from Cherone to a group called Minnesota Fugitive Watch. It features a picture of Brad and states, quote, "Do you know this piece of shit? He killed my friend, stole my children's clothes, toys, television. Throat punch him if you see him, won't you?" Unquote.
Where is the truth between these two completely different statements? Cherone could certainly help us with that, but if we can't get her help, we'll keep looking at the details and hunting for experts that can help us determine what really happened that night.
If you are struggling with thoughts of ending your own life, please don't hesitate. call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. It's there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And make sure to join us on the final live stream, Wednesday, April 8th at 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern on my channel, Gray Hughes Investigates. And make sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you do not miss it.
Remember, you can find all the information and links you need for any specific episode together all in one place at www.threemenandamystery.com. And that's with the number 3. If you have information to help shine the light of truth on this case, please send it in to us. You can also find a Patreon link there, and you can help support our efforts and also get some cool perks by joining.
If you have any feedback, corrections, or new details, you can send them to us via email at 3men@threemenandamystery.com. Those are with the number 3. Or you can reach out to us on Twitter at 3menandamystery or find us on Facebook. Are you looking for another true crime podcast to listen to while you're waiting for the next episode of 3 Men and a Mystery? If so, consider California Dreaming. Here's a sample.
I'm Roseanne, host of the California Dreaming podcast, a true crime show that delves into the darker side of California. Join me each week as we take a tour of the beautiful beaches, majestic mountain ranges, expansive deserts, and soaring redwoods to discover some of the most chilling, fascinating, and depraved criminal acts that have taken place across the state. You can find California Dreaming on all of your favorite podcast directories, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or you can visit our website at www.orbitaljigsaw.com and click on the show's link to find hours and hours of true crime tales from the Golden State. Thank you, and sweet dreams.
3 Men and a Mystery is produced by John Lorden, Mike Morford, and Gray Hughes.
Please rate us on the podcasting platform that you found us on and help us grow by telling your friends and family about us.
We will continue digging into this case on the next episode. We hope you will join us. I'm John Lorden.
I'm Mike Morford.
And I'm Gray Hughes.
And we are 3 Men and a Mystery.